This video is brought to you by the Marmite Appreciation Society. Big up to the Umami Barmy Army. Okay, that title was pretty bad. Anyway, hello everyone. Vlog 6. Do got to come clean about something though. In the last info dump, I punctuated it with some pretty awesome pictures to kind of illustrate what I was talking about. None of those pictures actually exist. Just before I started recording, I generated them all through AI. Just to see if I could. If you go onto Discord, if you have a Discord, there is a Discord server called Midjourney, and you can go on there and you can type in a prompt and it will spit you out a picture. And that's what I did. I've got my own little AI picture generator, so I can come up with some completely random stuff. I mean, this is what Mario looks like if he was on trial for World War II crimes. I was bored. Yeah, if you want to stick any prompts, just stick them, make a comment, send me a WhatsApp, send me a letter, carry a pigeon. Just don't call me because I won't answer. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I thought I'd come clean about that. But it's pretty awesome. So today's been interesting. I had a meeting up at the school and we got, basically it's a lot of paperwork. It's a Suffolk family help. Been working with them for several months now. With everything that's happened with Seb getting his EHCP and his assessment, and Clara coming up to the school and seeing if she needs a similar assessment done, and me making sure that I'm holding it all together, which is very nice of them. And yeah, so what they did on this one was basically compare it to the last one. So they've been talking about Clara's transition and Seb still investigating alternative places to go to school, but there's sort of like an 18-month waiting list for any of that, so we're not worried too much about that yet. And then they got to me. And it's really weird looking back through it all, because I filled this in so like 2 months ago, and I had to give myself a score of how I felt, how I thought I was actually doing relative to everything else. A score between 1 and 10, 1 being absolutely terrible and 10 being fantastic. And my mental health well-being, I ranked myself a 4 last time. And thinking about it, I ranked myself a 7 today. Because I have got a lot better, And there's things like finances, I ranked myself a 5 and I ranked myself an 8 this time. But the mental health, the well-being one was not a surprise to me, partly because I couldn't remember what I said. But it's nice to see how much growth I've had, and how much left there is to go, but my abilities to cope with it now actually seem a lot more viable. But it made me realise the last year has effectively been difficult, to say the least. And because of it, I've lost all sense of time. Whether something happened 6 months ago, 1 month ago, or last week, it's all just in this same amorphous blob of time, existence, rather than actually being something to look back on. The only reason I know time has actually passed in any meaningful manner is I see the number on these videos ticking up. And it's quite scary. because everything's just kind of passing me by. I'm doing everything I need to. Everything's, going okay. But it's just sort of like all passing by at this point. But having a look at this, we were talking about sort of like the mental health aspect and whether or not I do actually need, counselling, or whether or not I can get, personal help if I need it. And, I looked at it as, I think I'm better than I was. I'm better than I have been in actually a few years. I'm more in control of everything happening around me now. And it sounds so bad to say that, because it was no one's fault that I couldn't. It was no one's fault that I lost who I was and where I was going. Because everything I did for the right reason. It just didn't go anywhere. But that's why I find myself here. But I've realised there's a lot of distinctions I wasn't making. Being alone is different to feeling lonely. And sadness is different from depression. Don't ever get those mixed up. And it's very easy to. So if anyone else gets into a situation where they start to get confused and feel like that, do contact me and I will help you out as much as I can. Because it is tough, and it's only when you've actually been at the bottom of the dark place and found your way out that you can actually help other people find their way. It's not easy. Sorry to be a bit of a downer on this one. So to cheer you up, here is a picture of Samuel L. Jackson as Captain Jack Sparrow.
I'm glad people are liking the info dumps. It's my way of just giving back something of the random quiz stuff that I've amassed over the last 30 odd years of pointless knowledge. A lot of the stuff I know, though, isn't actually that good as sort of like stories for an info dump. So today, in a little bit of a departure, I'm going to do a mini dump. That is an info dump that just contains lots of mini bits of information which are very good for pub quizzes. So today's mini set of info dumps, let's start off with an easy one. How old is Ross in Friends? Gonna be honest, no one's too sure, because in 3 separate series he celebrated his 29th birthday. Did you know in most countries the most popular programme is the weather forecast?
If you're medieval, you could have had the surname Crackpot, Half Naked, Sweat in Bed, or even Golden Bollocks, with an E on the end.
In the early 2000s, the 37-stone man was made to buy an extra plane ticket so he could take up 2 seats. He then found out they weren't on the same row. Did you know Facebook is cited in 1/3 of all UK divorce cases?
Prince Charles is the oldest British monarch ever crowned.
The English word dinner actually comes from the French dîner, which means breakfast. Skateboards were banned in Norway until 1989. In 2001, Southend-on-Sea redesigned their traffic warden uniforms. They then had to redesign them again after realising they were all emblazoned with SS. So you don't actually eat 8 spiders a year in your sleep. That was a lie put up by a researcher to see how quickly they could spread a lie around the internet, because people will believe something they read more than something they hear. So it's not true. The surname Cameron means crooked mouth. You know, membership of the Conservative Party has fallen 97% since the 1950s. Weirdly, the term Prime Minister actually started life as an insult. The French equivalent of LOL is MDR, mort de rire. It literally means died from laughter. If you find yourself stuck on an app like Facebook or Twitter, scrolling endlessly and you forget what the time is, the definition is abstracted. In 2013, a mobile app in Azerbaijan that allowed people to keep an eye on the local election reported who the president was going to be 24 hours before the polls actually opened. The Greek god Atlas had an aunt called Doris. Sweden makes biofuel from dead rabbits. The US Patent Office insisted on proof that the Ouija board worked before they would grant a patent. Volvo came up with this fantastic idea for a belt that held you into your seat, the seat belt. And they gave the patent for it away for free so that everyone else could use it. In 2007, police in Iran detained 14 squirrels for spying. In the Norwegian town of Longyearbyen, it's actually illegal to die. In the 1950s, there was a horse in the US military called Sergeant Reckless. She carried stuff to and from the front line and eventually got back to the US, took a ride up in an elevator to get to a party for where she was the guest. She actually had to go through a blood test. The problem was that the guy she served with saw this as an affront because you have to be checked for equine STDs before you're allowed into the US. Did you know the word 12 is worth 12 points in Scrabble? If you take all the letters in ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, king, there's 52 of them. I'll finish off with this one. Kopi Luwak is the most expensive coffee you can get, because the only way you can get it is to have an animal eat the coffee bean and then poop it back out so you can make coffee. Otherwise it tastes disgusting and it's slightly toxic. See you again.